Hey guys, and welcome to the Hobby News. Alright, so we've got some Elder reveals this week. It's looking good. It's starting to spice up a little bit for those Elder players. I think pretty much everything, like rules-wise, already been leaked on the internet, but apart from that, the models haven't been yet, so we're starting to see more, which is great. I guess the rumors are sort of like people are saying something like maybe 8 to 10 kits in total or something like that from people talking about this on the internet. That could be true. We certainly are seeing a few more, and there is definitely a theme to these releases that does feel from a design point of view anyway quite a, I guess they're staying faithful to the original design of what Elder is, or now Aeldari, however you want to say it. And, that's fine. They're playing it safe, I guess, in terms of design. They're not doing a AOS type of thing where they're really trying to go out there in random directions and try to find, I guess, more wacky or different ways to explore this faction, which is probably good for Elder players. Like if you've been collecting these for 20 plus years, I don't think you'd really want to see your faction turned inside out and, had the AOS type of treatment, although it would lend itself to possibly, new and interesting, ideas, but it's going to invalidate a lot of what you already have. And so I can see why GW has kept to a sort of, I guess, a more safe design road for Eldar, which is fine. But that's not to say they're not going to bring out anything, crazy and new, that sort of thing. There certainly could be. If that 8 to 10 kits kind of rumor is true, then we might see a couple of things come out that are a bit more out there. But I'm not worried about that. I think that's like they're definitely trying to establish some sort of baseline for the Elder range so that as they move forward into the next edition and so on into the future, they'll have a good base to work from, and then they can add on top of that. So that's all positive for Elder players, I think, or people that are interested in collecting or painting these. So yeah, so we'll get into it. We'll have a look at these. These Dark Reapers have some I guess positives and maybe some, not negatives, but just like a couple of design elements in this that feel a little bit kind of, they could have been pushed a little more. But, it's hard to tell unless you get the model in your hand and actually have a look at it, because close-up photos often warp, the shapes and forms on these minis. They're often not quite as, sometimes they look a little odd or whatever, but when you get them in your hand, they're totally fine. So, that's, I guess, something to consider when we're talking about this. But anyway, let's get into this article. So, revamped, rearmed, and extra grim. Aeldari Dark Reapers are back in plastic. So we're getting a little preview. So obviously these aren't out yet, but they're just giving us a taste. So continuing our stroll along the path of the preview ahead of a massive wave of upcoming Aeldari releases, we see some updated Aspect Warriors in beautiful, crisp, clean plastic glory. Witness the grimmest, creepiest heavy hitters of them all. Yeah, well, there definitely are a lot of these words, but the creepy part, I think, comes down to the slightly, I guess, odd choice in sculpting for the helmets. I don't know if anyone else feels this way about it, but we're about to take a look at it. And I feel like there's just a slight shift in shape that might have helped push these a little bit. I know this is very similar to the old models, but the old models didn't quite have this look. I don't remember it being like this exactly. But anyway, we'll come down and have a look. So, the leader here of the group is fine, like with the full helmet. It tends to look a little nicer, so it's cool. Like everything they said, it's clean, it's crisp. We're getting good detail here. It's a plastic kit. It's very nice. Everything is exactly as you would expect it to be for Eldar. I don't think anything here is out of place. We're seeing what we would expect, and that's great. That's good for Elder players, good for people coming in. They get a sense of what this Elder faction is all about, and it's staying true to that history, which I think is important. So, that's really awesome. We're not getting anything out of the ordinary here. So, but in these faces, so you can see how it's just sort of, it's almost like it needs to be a little bit more of a skull element into this shape somehow, just because it feels like it's a bit soft, like a little bit not enough to give you that sense of the Grim Reaper type of element to these models, and I think that's they should have played around with it more. And for some of the head shape, this one's okay again because of the helmet. But when we come across here to some of these others, this is their little icon here. I'm not quite sure. I think this is again one of those little icons that represents their gods and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure, like the other one that we saw with the scouts, but I'm not quite sure if it has an in-game rule yet or anything like that. So, but yeah, pretty cool. It's a nice little addition to the kit. But here's what I'm talking about. So you see this sort of shape. It's almost like, I don't know. It reminds me of that really old movie Coneheads. Like I know they have tall helmets and everything, but something about this rounded part at the top here. It's either it needs to be, I don't know, like a little bit more like their other helmets are, a little bit more tapered. There's just like a subtle change here. Maybe you could do it with just shave it down with a file and just get it a bit more ergonomic. But something about that corner on the top of the head doesn't quite work for me somehow. I don't know. It just makes him look a little bit funny, And then the features here I feel like needed a little bit more shape. Maybe there is, maybe it's not flat. Something a bit more skull-like. I don't know, maybe a ridge around the eyes or slight more indentation for the teeth. Something about this needed to be pushed a little more, I feel. But apart from this one little section of it, everything else about these models is great, right? We're seeing all of the things you want to see. As I said, the guns are cool. They're just like larger, more detailed versions of what they already had. Again, with their armor, it's again a more detailed version. And you wouldn't be sorry with that. And we'll see this side view. So here we see, so it is quite flat. So I don't know, just like something in here just needed a little bit more definition. It does have a good sweep going to the back here, so that's cool. It's just these side bits. I think I would just shave those down. I would just get in there with a knife and file and just give that just a very subtle change in shape, and I think that would make them feel like, make this head look a bit more shark-like, something like that, a bit more predatory. It just, that little bobble, like if we have a look, it's almost like a bean shape, just remove that a little bit, and I think this would be much nicer. And obviously in the flesh, we don't know whether whether it really needs any more detail, I don't know. But just from this photograph, that's what I'm seeing. But apart from that, everything else is pretty cool about these. I think, we're on the right track. And all of these that they've shown us so far really do bode well for the future of the range. You can tell that they've been serious about this. It's not just like a one model release, sort of a shoe-in thing. They're really putting their effort in here to give Eldar, a fresh start, and I think that's really positive. They've obviously invested a lot of money and time into actually revamping this range. If what the rumors are true and they themselves, the language they're using about this rollout of the new Eldar and everything like that, and that they say that it's, if we have a look at the top here, they say it's, a massive wave of upcoming Aeldari. So, they're using language that suggests we're going to see a lot of kits. And that's, in this day and age, is actually quite unusual. You don't get full refresh ranges anymore like you did in the old days for a lot of the factions. They don't do that as much. They'll do a few kits, but that's it. But this sounds like it's getting the full treatment, which is, a real positive. And I think that's important because the Eldar are one of those main factions. They're the counterpoint to Space Marines, and the more brutal aspects of things like, Chaos and Orcs and that sort of thing. This is kind of like the high tech, and you need that in the game. That's an important part because, if you look at like the flavors, it's like different flavors of ice cream, some like chocolate, some like, vanilla and so on. You got to have this in there because players that are coming in, some people really vibe on this, they really love this type of I guess, anime-inspired tech, that elven thing, so on. It's got a sort of a sci-fi fantasy, high fantasy tilt to it that is very, very, I guess, popular with a certain type of gamer or a certain type of hobbyist. And so to not do this type of like really strong release for them would be a miss, right? And I think we can all agree that, whether you like Eldar or not. So this is going to help invigorate the game, not just the model ranges and the hobby as a whole, but it's going to help push that Xeno element that the game kind of sometimes lacks in editions. Often the Xeno factions can be a bit lackluster, they need help, so on and so forth, and Space Marines often dominate. But this time around, obviously, they gave a lot of good rules to Dark Eldar, so I'm sure Eldar have never suffered from being a bad army. We all know that. Every edition, they generally are relatively competitive. They don't drop below good. They're always on that good tier. They never really go below it. Maybe for a few months here and there, they might drop, but overall, they're always given decent books. It's part of, I guess, their lore, I guess, directs them to do that because of what they are. They're meant to be, you know, this sort of highly advanced culture, and so it's hard not to give them all the really funky rules and all the really cool things that you know, that most elven factions tend to get, again, based on their kind of background and what they are. And so you're going to see that here, and I think that that's important. Like, you know, we really want to see a strong Xeno side to help counterbalance all those Imperial armies and so on, and give the game some extra ideas and some extra stuff. So hopefully that's what this will add, as well with the Tower release coming as well. They're obviously looking pretty strong, at least from, you know, war gear that we're seeing, certain rules and so on. How it functions as a total army is a different story, but, you know, I like that as a whole. You know, the Orcs came out there relatively good, you know, in certain builds. Just adding that Xeno side into the game, I think, is always important, because it does lack sometimes as these years go on. So yeah, this is pretty cool. You've got the different gun options here, some different like paint schemes. That's nice. Obviously the classic here with the black and the red, and I like this actually. So I like this unhelmeted or half helm kind of style for this. I think that's actually probably my favorite look, with the little skull on the shoulder. I kind of like that more, and if I was building them, if they give you options for all of these to have them like that, I probably would have them like that, or at least, as I said, alter the helmet a little bit. But yeah, really cool, right? I think it's looking to be an exciting time coming into this year. You know, there's a lot of good AOS releases, and we've got some, you know, exciting times for 40k. They're moving into their first 6-month, I guess, wave of their sort of campaign for the General's Handbook for competitive play. We're moving into a new one. I forgot what the name is now. Is it Nakmund or I don't know, whatever, some strange name, but we're moving into that. So we're going to see how that type of, you know, continuous change affects the game and the gameplay and so on. You know, you're going to be getting 3 monthly updates and all that sort of thing for rules and so on. So it's an exciting time. This year should be really interesting, if nothing else. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Please hit that like button, subscribe button. It really helps me out. And I guess I'll catch you on the next one.